English Script Part 1. Han Ki-seok's life could be summed up in one word: diligence. Before he turned 30, he had already started working as a civil servant at City Hall, and nearly 30 years had passed since then. In all that time, he had never been absent without a valid reason, nor arrived late without cause. His colleagues called him a model senior, though he himself felt little joy at the nickname. The same time, the same bus, the same lunch, the same route home. It was all so familiar that at times he felt as though he had become a machine. He awoke at 6:30 every morning, his eyes opening before the alarm. Habit carried him to fold the bedding, head to the bathroom, wash his face, and shave. In the mirror, a man with black-dyed hair, now streaked with gray, looked back at him. Deep lines marked his skin, but his expression remained calm. When he stepped into the living room, his wife, Jung-hee, was setting soup and side dishes on the table. Today's soup was bean sprout, with stir-fried anchovies, seasoned spinach, and kimchi. For 30 years of marriage, she had never once skipped preparing breakfast. The soup might be a bit bland. I used less salt. That's fine, it's healthier this way. It was a short exchange, filled with the comfort of long years together, yet that comfort had turned colorless. After breakfast, he dressed for work, fastening the buttons of his white shirt one by one. The man in the mirror looked utterly ordinary. When he stepped out with his briefcase, Jung-hee would set his slippers neatly at the door, a silent expression of "have a good day." Yet their shared glances and smiles had grown rare. He boarded the 7:40 bus to work. Through the seasons, his mood never changed. In spring, new leaves unfurled. In summer, cicadas sang loudly. In autumn, the ginkgo leaves turned golden. In winter, snow settled quietly. To him, these were only background images. At the office, Ki-seok meticulously reviewed documents on his desk, calmly assisting citizens who came for consultations. He had never once raised his voice. His reputation as a kind civil servant was well known within the office, but it did not extend beyond it. At home, his words were few. His route home never changed. He would stop by the nearby market for milk, eggs, and sometimes fruit, before walking into the scent of soybean paste stew. Dinner was eaten in quiet. The news is noisy these days. Yes, it is. After such brief remarks, silence would settle again. The casual laughter they once shared had long vanished. On weekends, he tended their small vegetable garden, while Jung-hee prepared side dishes in the kitchen. Lunch was often instant noodles or kimbap. Though they spent much time together, their hearts seemed to face different directions. One evening at dinner, Ki-seok remarked, "The house feels quieter lately." "It's always been quiet." Her short reply carried an odd sadness. He set his spoon down. Her expression was unchanged, but unreadable. That night he lay awake staring at the ceiling, hearing her breathing as though from a distance. For the first time, he imagined a different life. The thought was still vague, but was beginning to take shape, a seed of a storm that would one day break into reality. In late spring, wind scattered cherry blossoms across the sidewalk. Instead of going straight home after work, Ki-seok answered a call from a junior colleague. "Sir, are you free for dinner tonight?" After a brief pause, he agreed. At a small tavern in a narrow alley, a woman he didn't know sat beside his junior. "This is my high school friend, Mi-jung." "Hello, I've heard a lot about you." Her deep dimples appeared whenever she smiled, and her eyes carried traces of sadness and loneliness. Divorced for 5 years, she now ran a small flower shop. "I used to enjoy the quiet at home, but lately it feels heavy." "I know the feeling." Her words stirred something in him. As the drinks flowed, the junior excused himself, leaving the two alone. "Don't you sometimes need someone you can just sit with without speaking?" she asked. He clinked glasses in reply. After that night, they began exchanging messages, from brief greetings to long conversations, and met in the evenings under the pretense of overtime. They sat across from each other in small cafes, sharing their days. In her laughter, he rediscovered a long-lost thrill. When he returned home, Jung-hee would simply say, "You're back," nothing more. The silence emboldened him. On an early summer business trip to a small town, Ki-seok unexpectedly met Sun-young, his college crush. "Ki-seok, It's been so long you haven't changed. Widowed, she now worked in a library. Her words about feeling at ease when seeing a familiar face warmed him. Days later, he arranged another trip just to see her. After dinner, they strolled through a park. You used to smile so much back then. I thought I knew how to smile then. He placed his hand on hers. She didn't pull away. From then on, his life oscillated between Mi-jung and Sun-young, Mondays and Wednesdays with Mi-jung, Tuesdays and Fridays with Sun-young. The sweetness of these encounters rested on a foundation of lies. Jung-hee, without changing her expression, quietly gathered evidence. One evening after dinner with Mi-jung, he returned home to find Jung-hee seated at the table. She placed an envelope before him. Inside were a hotel receipt, receipts for bouquets, and printed messages, one of which read clearly, "I want to breathe in that scent again today."